We're joined now by Rishi Sunak, the MP for Richmond, a key ally of Boris Johnson, someone tipped for a cabinet job. If he becomes Prime Minister, you might see the space again. I just want to start with those comments by Nicola Sturgeon. She was responding to what the leader of the SNP in Westminster had said about Boris Johnson, that he's effectively racist. We can just see what Nicola Sturgeon said in that interview. Boris Johnson has made overtly racist comments. You can criticise the burqa without being deeply offensive. Some of the things he said about black people I wouldn't even repeat because I don't think it's appropriate to do so. What do you make of what Nicola Sturgeon said?
Well, Sophie, first of all, I personally wouldn't be sitting here supporting Boris if I thought he was racist. So it's something I care very deeply about. And when you look at the context of that article about the burqa, first of all, an independent panel looked at it and they described it as in the round being respectful and tolerant. And of course, people were going to take particular comments out of context. But the article was making a very liberal argument about the right of women to choose what they would like to wear. And at the time when other European countries, who Nicola Sturgeon's very, very fond of us being connected closer to, they were going around banning the burqa. And here was Boris making an argument that women shouldn't be banned. They should be able to make that choice for themselves.
I mean, she's also talking about some of the things he said about black people. I believe she's referring to a Telegraph column in 2002. Yes, quite a long time ago, admittedly, where he was writing up Tony Blair. They say he's shortly off to the Congo. No doubt the AK-47s will fall silent and the pangas will stop their hacking of human flesh and the tribal warriors will all break out in watermelon smiles.
Well, I haven't read that particular article, but the broad point I'd say is Boris has very clearly apologised for any offence that he's caused through any of the thousands and thousands of articles he's written over a very long journalistic career.
Is this someone who's always going to say anything to get a laugh?
No, I don't think it's about saying anything. This is someone who does have a particular way of communicating, which does seem to work. He's won 2 elections in a place which people thought Conservatives couldn't win. He won a referendum campaign that people thought was not possible to win. And he's able to do those things because he has a way of engaging the public, and it's because he speaks in a way that they understand, that's direct, that gets through to them. And although, of course, he's going to apologise for the comments that he's made, I don't think it's right that he should become this cookie-cutter politician who doesn't have that great connection with the public and engages them and talks to them in a way that they resonate with, clearly, as we can see from his track record.
I mean, there's been a lot of focus as well on a story that's dominated the papers over the last couple of days, something that we've again been speaking to some of our guests about, the police being called to the flat that Boris Johnson shares with his girlfriend. Does that story worry you?
Well, look, I think the thing we do know, as you said, is that the police were called, and of course that's something that people are going to be rightly interested in. But then let's just look at that. The police were called to an incident, and what did they say? They said everybody was safe, everybody was well, there was no concerns that the officers had, and there was no cause for any further action. And given that's what the police have said, and it's clearly a private incident, I wasn't there, you weren't there, I think we should just leave it at that.
It is having, according to one poll today, a bit of an impact, though. You were talking there about Boris Johnson's record in London. Let's just have a quick look at a poll that the Mail on Sunday have published today. This is by Survation. They asked who would be the best Prime Minister. And in the days since that incident, Jeremy Hunt has leapfrogged Boris Johnson, 32% compared to 29%. Now, crucially, this is among all voters. Among members, the poll still finds that Boris Johnson is more popular. But it matters, doesn't it, what everyone thinks?
Of course it matters what everybody thinks, because I think Boris Johnson could be a Prime Minister for the entirety of the UK, and I think he'll do a very good job of that, appealing to everybody. Look, polls are polls. People react to, events by the day. What we've seen is he has a track record of winning, and he had a track record of winning even when the polls said at the beginning of the contest he wasn't going to. I mean, his first race in London, I think the Conservatives were 17 points behind. And he managed to pull off a victory. The referendum, I mean, nobody thought that Leave would be able to win. He led that referendum. So I think when push comes to shove, his track record speaks for itself, and that's because he's a fantastic campaigner, and he has a great set of ideas about spreading educational opportunity for everybody, infrastructure investment, to make sure that all parts of our country share in our prosperity. It's important to me as a Northern MP, and people talk about that, they feel it. I think Boris connects with that, and he will have a message to those people that will make them think, yes, here's someone who can deliver for us, as he did in London, and I want to back him.
Now, you voted to leave the EU, I think I'm right in saying. What's Boris Johnson told you about his plans to leave? Because there are some people who look at the range of opinion that he's attracted in the Conservative Party and think, how on earth is he going to have a Brexit policy that keeps Matt Hancock happy in the one corner and Steve Baker happy in the other? What's he said to you?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's a bad thing that he has attracted support from all wings of the party. I think that's absolutely what you should be looking for in the next Prime Minister. That's the job that they have to do, and the fact that he's been able to do that is a good thing. And I think he said the same thing to me that he said to everybody, and I think this is where, in contrast to some of the other candidates who have had slightly different positions over time,
so what has he
with
said to you?
absolute clarity, he said the same thing, is that we we will leave the European Union on the 31st of October. That's his express will, and he will work very hard to deliver that.
So
and
is that a cast-down guarantee? Because that's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of.
What he has said is very clearly he is prepared to walk away without a deal if that's what it takes to leave.
Will he do it?
Yeah, of course he will do it. He said crystal clear that he will do it, and it's right that he does prepare for that. But he's also said that's not his preference. His preference is not to walk away without a deal. His preference is to renegotiate with our European friends and allies, find a constructive way to leave. But it's absolutely right and responsible that we do prepare for no deal in order to maximise our hand at the negotiating table and make sure that we're best prepared. And he'll do that with conviction. And I think that that's what the British people deserve. Someone fighting very hard for us in Brussels, but determined to deliver on the will of the referendum and get us out of the EU by the end of October.
There's been a bit of consternation among some of your colleagues about comments that Boris Johnson made about renegotiating within the implementation period. I think we just about have time to quickly show what David Lidington had said. That's the wrong one. There we go. The implementation period is actually part of the withdrawal agreement. No deal exit equals no withdrawal agreement equals no implementation period. I mean, he's wrong there, isn't he?
Well, there's a range of different ways one could leave. One is with the existing withdrawal agreement, but this agreement has not passed Parliament three times, so we do clearly need a different way to leave. It could be this withdrawal agreement with changes to the backstop, which is an obvious place to start.
But the point is that you can't renegotiate within the implementation period if there's no deal, can you? Because it's part of the withdrawal.
Well, what you will be negotiating during an implementation period, if that's where we end up, is the exact form of the future relationship. And that's something that Boris has been very clear about. He wants to have a future relationship with the EU, where, of course, they're our friends and allies, but we must have control over our borders, our laws, our trading relationships. And those are all the things, the detail of which we can work out during an implementation period. And Boris has been very clear he will deliver on that when we get to that point.
OK, and just finally, you once said in an interview that you wanted to be a Jedi Knight. When you grow up. I mean, obviously, you might have to readjust your expectations slightly, but what job would you like in a Boris Johnson cabinet?
You know, it's not a conversation I've had with him. I don't think there is a minister for There's no minister for Star Wars that I'm aware of, but if that job can be created, I'd love to do it. Funnily enough, I was actually listening at the Royal Albert Hall yesterday to a great Star Wars concert, which was brilliant with my kids. But no, it's not a conversation I've had with him. One thing I think we do know is that as he did as Mayor of London, he built a fantastic team around him. Some of them are in Parliament today, some of his deputy mayors, colleagues of mine, they've been on your show, Kit Malthouse, James Cleverly, They helped him get crime down, and I'm sure he will put that team together again and deliver for everybody.
Thank you very much for being on the programme today, Rishi Sunak there.